What it does. I'm Lil Lo, and these videos excite you, but they scare the shit out of me. I want to make it clear that I don't make it a habit to outwardly defend men. It's actually one of my least favorite fucking things to do, which is why I'm so disappointed that I have to be here today. Y'all are starting to give me the creeps. Like, I thought we were making progress, but objectifying men and boys is not gonna help us any. And I know y'all already want to rip my head off, so let's just get the condescending part out of the way just to make sure that we're all on the same page. The definition to me of objectify is to treat somebody/something as an object without rights or feelings of their own. And the example here is magazines that objectify women. I want to be clear. I'm a woman. I'm a black woman at that. When I think of the word objectify, I think of how it negatively impacts women. I'm not saying that objectifying more often happens to men. And I also want to be clear that I'm not just speaking to women because I feel like women are the only problem. I'm speaking to women because I find us more fucking reasonable. And I'm also aware that this sort of thing is almost like a pendulum swing. Right? So like men put this system in place to be able to objectify people. That pendulum is now swinging back and they're being objectified. But what concerns me is when we make it okay to make anybody unsafe, everybody's at fucking risk. And again, I'm a black woman. And I know you probably want to say men can protect themselves, and they probably can, but not against hundreds of women. And boys, are we even sure that they can truly protect themselves at all? And the reason that I'm so scared about the situation with Hudson and Connor is because we've seen this movie before, or at least I have. We lost D'Angelo in October. So in case you live under a rock, D'Angelo was one of the most talented, even though he didn't like the neo soul name, neo soul singers of our time, of any time. He was amazing and talented and had a way with instruments. He had a way with words. He made music that really spoke to the soul. He also happened to be easy on the eyes, and honestly, he was objectified to the point of misery.
So then we get the video that changed it all. This video was an absolute game changer. R&B has always been sexual. There's always been a sensuality aspect to it, especially in the music videos, because there's always a love interest. You know how it goes. But this video was different because it was just one shot, just him with a black background, nobody else in it, just him, shirtless, and he had pajama bottoms on. He wasn't fully nude, but the pajama bottoms were very low and you couldn't see them with the camera. And it was just him kind of simulating something with the viewer. Not long after the video comes out, his second album, Voodoo, drops, and partly due to the help of the music video, his album ends up selling 320,000 copies the first week. A few months later, it was time to embark on the Voodoo tour, where things started to take a turn. And like I said earlier, at this time, people did not have so much access to their favorite celebrities, so when this tour comes, the fans go crazy. To the point where he'd barely be into the show, and women would already be screaming, take it off, while he's just trying to get through his songs. People who were on the tour with him at the time, like Questlove, talked about how much this affected him and how much pressure he felt to give people what they wanted and also to look like how he did in that music video. Questlove has talked a lot about it. He said some nights on tour, he'd look in the mirror and say, I don't like the video. It was totally in his mind on some Kate Moss shit. So he'd say, let me do 200 more stomach crunches. He'd literally hold the show up for half an hour just to do crunches. We would hold the show for an hour and a half if he didn't feel mentally prepared or physically prepared. Some shows got canceled because he didn't feel physically prepared, but it was such a delusion. They wanted Untitled. He hated every moment of that. So to motivate him past night 4 became problematic. He'd say, well, let's do Untitled earlier. We'd say, no, you got to end with Untitled. Then it just became a compromise. How can we stop the bleeding so we can at least get the show out of the way before the take it off chance come on? But no night was unscathed. 3 weeks into it, it became unbearable. Absolutely unbearable. And D'Angelo has also spoken about that during this time, women were physically grabbing him, trying to take off his clothes, trying to rip his shirt and touch his body. And he said at one point he was truly fed up when a woman threw money at him on stage and told him to take it off. And he's like, you know what? I'm fucking done. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking like, this is exactly what women go through. Women go through this even worse. Like now you see what women have to deal with. And Questlove literally said the same thing. He said, in the world of karma, it was sweet poetic justice for any woman that's ever been sexually harassed, that's ever had to work twice as hard to prove she could work like a man. Again, none of this is acceptable in any way, shape, or form, but I know he's not saying that. But it puts things into perspective. He was struggling so much during this time that there were several shows that were outright canceled because he wasn't there mentally, and he also felt like physically he wouldn't be able to meet the standards that people were expecting for him, so the shows were just canceled. And Questlove said on the last day of the tour, he said, I cannot wait until this fucking tour is over. I'm gonna go into the woods, drink some hooch, grow a beard, and get fat. Questlove laughs, thinks he's joking, until it actually started to happen. In an interview with GQ, he says, when I got back home from tour, it wasn't easy to just be. I think that's the thing that got me in trouble. Me trying to just be Michael, that's his real name. The regular old me from back in the day, and me fighting that whole sex symbol thing. And he talked about how he wanted to just be his old self and hang out with his friends, but those days were gone.
So those days were gone. We don't have D'Angelo here with us anymore, and nobody did anything because the perpetrators were women. But that doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make what happened to D'Angelo okay. And it's not just like, oh, you know, the women are yelling, take it off. D'Angelo's going through this internally. Clearly himself and Questlove have done interviews about the negative impacts that this had on him. D'Angelo then proceeded to get into a series of legal troubles and struggle with some substance abuse issues. It's unfortunate for everyone involved. As a grown-ass man, if he was that scared, go to church or beef up security or whatever. I'm even willing to give you that. But does anybody remember Bieber fever? I don't even know that I have to explain it, but Bieber fever was the pandemonium and just like the mass hysteria that followed Justin Bieber from teenage girls and grown women alike, to be quite frank, everywhere that he went. And when I see those mobs forming for Connor and Hudson, I see Bieber fever. I see that level of pandemonium. I see the directioners. I see so many of these fan bases that do truly just love these artists, but are creating really, really dangerous situation. And in case you weren't there to witness it, I have a video of some of the Bieber fever that was going on at the time. Now, the caption is kind of like reminiscent. It's a little bit happy. And I wasn't a fan of that creative choice. So I have taken a creative choice and I have taken the liberty of changing the music. You could look at that footage and say, oh, that's not that scary. But don't forget that some of these young women got hurt too. Not to mention, parents should have spoken to their daughters about this behavior. I get that you enjoy the music. I was a fangirl myself, but there were certain things that I was not allowed to do by my mother, whether it be celebrity, person from down the street, or otherwise. Because all this shit is going on and you're seeing them like clamoring to get to Justin Bieber when he's not even in their immediate radius. What do you think they were going to do when they got to Justin Bieber? My mom didn't play that type of shit. One time we went to go see Mindless Behavior in New York and Jacob Elordi was opening up and he started singing a little too slow. And she told me, if that boy takes his shirt off, we leaving. That's how you should be handling your kids. Not just seeing that your daughter is losing her fucking mind to the point of like, she's not in control of her faculties and saying that's okay because that's how teenage girls are. And we could lie and say that, you know, now we get the issue with Justin Bieber. We get the issue with Bieber fever. And the real issue back then wasn't the hysteria from the girls. It was for Justin's physical safety. But we know better now. Things are better now. We get it. We learned our lesson. This video with the positive music was not posted that long ago. This is someone who is probably close to my age reminiscing on shit like this. And you know what happens when you are someone who is now my age? And you're reminiscing on shit like this because you were a fangirl that never got told this was inappropriate by her parents. You become an adult. The same thing that we try to teach people about their sons, which is that like, if you don't nip some of this behavior in the bud young, he's going to become a man who doesn't respect other people's boundaries, who doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself. That applies to all children. But then to make matters worse, Bieber fever was not only felt by tween and teenage girls. There were grown-ass women involved in the objectification of this young boy. And there were grown-ass men who turned a blind eye because they're like, oh, I'd be glad if I got that level of attention. Oh, that'd be great for me. Like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Look at this. Disgusting.
Wow. I feel violated right now. Wow.
You have to be naked on stage during one full song. Answer Justin Bieber.
I have like little girl fans. I can't go.
Okay, I'm not there was no laws. Squeeze your face.
No. I was no.
Squeeze your face.
You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Wow, look at your eyes. What? So look at him. Look at what a beautiful face. All right.
Risky. That makes me feel uncomfortable.
Justin Bieber, how do you feel about older women? Like 21 years old?
I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
All of this is going on in the national fucking media, and we're not even having conversations about like, hey, young men can also be victims. Boys can be victims of predatory behavior. We're just like, Bieber fever. What did you expect? And it's like, it doesn't have to be a famous boy to have this conversation. We should have been having this conversation about protecting our boys way sooner. There shouldn't have to be a boy as famous as Justin Bieber still going through some shit like this for us to realize it's a problem. And I know that y'all are acknowledging that there are also men in these videos also making Justin Bieber uncomfortable. I'm not saying that men are incapable of these things. I mean, I feel like I've made it pretty clear of who I think the usual suspects are. But if a man, a grown man, showed up to a tween's meet and greet and said, are you into older men? they would have tackled him and thrown him out the fucking door. And I think I feel so passionate about this because I used to work in a group home. I have seen how this culture of like the boys are all right has negatively impacted the boys. Not to mention Justin Bieber, good looking guy, but not like a very unique looking guy. What did this mean for all of the young boys at the time who looked like Justin Bieber, who didn't have a camera being pointed at them when some grown ass woman is being suggestive towards him? And I want to emphasize the fact that when I'm saying that grown men thought that this behavior was acceptable because the boys should feel lucky to have this level of attention, I'm not just talking about interpersonal relationships. I'm not just talking about people's dads and uncles. I'm talking about like people at corporations, people at record labels who honestly compromised a lot of young boys' safety because that level of pandemonium and frenzy and young girls, but also grown ass women, makes them money. They didn't want these girls and women to respect the humanity of these young boys. If anything, they wanted the complete opposite. And in response, began producing more television, more movies, more music that elicited this response from these women. And yes, Bieber was responding in those interviews that he was uncomfortable, but people didn't take them the way that we're looking back on them. But other men have spoken out about being objectified. One of y'all's faves, y'all love him, Jacob Elordi, 5.5 years ago told y'all that the objectification was negatively impacting him and his mental health. In August of 2020, Jacob Elordi came forward to tell us that he was actually really bothered by those scenes in the kissing booth where he had to have no shirt on. He said that he actually hated putting his body on display like that. At the time, I was super young and got thrown into a world where everyone wanted to talk about my body. It really fucking bothered me. I don't identify with that whatsoever, he went on. I was trying to prove myself and be known as an actor. It was so much working out and I hated every second of it. And it's like he's saying this by the time he's on Euphoria, but Kissing Booth was way younger. And if I remember correctly, Jacob Elordi moved from Australia, is it? Here to do those films. So while when he's sharing this information, he's not a minor and he probably didn't move as a minor, he was still like at the mercy of this industry who was essentially telling him his success was based off of how much pandemonium he could stir up in women and girls. And I know what you're thinking, but good for him. He shared his feelings. He shared how it impacted him mentally. He spoke his truth. And now that we know what his truth is and he has this large fan base, clearly people will resonate with that. And now that we know the issue, we can rectify it, right? Wrong. Absolutely fucking wrong. Nobody learned anything. This year, he plays Frankenstein as part of his continuous pursuit to show us his acting chops past objectification. And what did y'all do? Glamour comes out with the article. So you're attracted to Frankenstein's monster. Now what? The tagline says, I'm not sexualizing him. I just find him very attractive. Leading the charge of hot monster guys is Jacob Elordi's Creature from Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which landed on Netflix last week. A ghostly patchwork quilt of various body parts pulled from dead soldiers. He's hardly the most obvious on-screen hottie. And yet, the girls can't get enough. Just to clarify, I'm not sexualizing him. I just find him very attractive. One TikTok fan vid caption reads, if being attracted to a creature is a crime, then I'd be sentenced to life, reads another. And one ex post, Victor Frankenstein giving the creature long, beautiful lashes and expressive eyes that are reminiscent of a sad puppy. So true. Salon Magazine comes forward. People are just the right amount of horny for Frankenstein's monster. And the newest take on Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi's gorgeous, tragic creature is a gift to monster sexuals. Frankenstein's creature has the sharp-featured, otherworldly beauty of David Bowie, the brooding goth intensity of Nick Cave, the style of a helmet-laying runway model, the height of a good-sized tree, and viewers are responding with bewildered lust. Among this weekend's headlines, Netflix new Frankenstein is hot? ? Jacob Elordi is Frankenstein's monster, and he's kind of hot. And Frankenstein's monster has never been hotter or more sympathetic. There's a TikTok of Elordi as the creature, naked but for a conspicuously bulging set of bandages set to Taylor Swift's Wood. Another pairs scenes of the creature and his maker, Victor Frankenstein, with George Michael's father figure. Everyone is thoroughly gagged and not bothering to conceal their lust behind any intellectual pretense. And you know what? Good for them. And then they use the same looks that they demanded of him to be taken seriously, right? You want this part in Kissing Booth. Yes, it's not the most serious movie, but it's like acting. It's in the US. It gets your foot in the door. You want it? Take your fucking shirt off and use those same looks as the reason that they're not gonna fucking take him seriously. Jacob Elordi's ridiculously handsome Frankenstein monster divides critics. The new Frankenstein movie is redefining the literary monster. Not every reviewer thinks it makes sense to redefine the monster as ridiculously good looking. Pan's Labyrinth director Del Toro's choice to make the monster hunky results in a muddled film, that reviewer declared, sniping his Frankenstein monster is just too handsome. And let me be clear, I get being a fan of someone's art or their talent or their craft or hell, even their fucking face. But isn't there a way that you can do that without absolutely going fucking feral, losing your mind with little to no regard for the way that you're conducting yourself or how you're going to be received? At the very least, if you can't do it as a teen, perhaps as a grown woman, because I'm by no means saying that you can't be a fan of these men or the art that they create. In fact, I feel like they would be pissed at me if I came up here and said, hey, no, you can't be a fan of that shit. Look at how you're conducting yourself. Burn your records and don't buy anything else. What I'm saying is that being a fan is good. Objectifying is bad. And it didn't seem like it took long for Jacob's career to go from like, woo, this is new, this is exciting, I'm on a roll, to having an impact on his mental health because of the constant objectification that he was facing. And so I worry that while this initial surge of fans might be great for Hudson and Connor, how long before they realize that what y'all are kind of saying is being objectified is part of, if not the main part of the job.
When did you watch Heated Rivalry?
When?
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. About 3 weeks ago, my assistant recommended it to me. So yeah.
So when you look at Connor now, and you think about those scenes in Heated Rivalry, what goes through your mind?
I'm thinking about his excellent Russian accent that he does. I'm thinking about his characterization. I'm thinking that he is adorable and he looks like a leading man, and I'm excited to see where he goes next.
CAA is where you go next.
And CAA is where I'm at, baby.
That's right.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You're very, yeah.
Can I just say that I am so glad that Janelle James fielded that question the way that she did. And I mean, I was just like ranting and raving positively, of course, about Abbott Elementary last episode. So like, what a full circle moment. But I know that you may be thinking to yourself, nobody respects newer actors, especially not from streaming. And like, while it may not be right that they don't respect them, the show is very sexual in nature. I've seen videos where they're reading suggestive tweets and they're leaning into it. So what the fuck is the issue? And I would also be willing to give you that if this was just an issue for Hudson Williams and Connor Storrie. But guess what? It's fucking not. Method Man, who is a rapper, a veteran in his fucking game, an incredibly talented man, and also just happens to be a little bit handsome, went on Tamron Hall the other day to talk about this exact thing.
You were on the cover of Men's Health in September. There you go.
Yeah. Fire.
So you, in the article,
A-line t-shirt.
you said, I'm not a sex symbol. You said sometimes you don't want to be lusted over.
Yeah.
You just want to be respected.
Yeah.
Okay, now, listen. I'm going to ask you this question, and I mean it with all love because, of course, we have great respect for you.
Yes.
But I will tell you, at the Usher concert just the other day, you took your shirt off.
Yeah, I did.
You took your shirt off in front of thousands of people.
This isn't the Usher concert.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Wait a minute. What? Okay, listen here. So, how do you reconcile? How do you reconcile not wanting to be lusted over but keep opening your shirt?
Well, this is the thing.
Okay, what's the line?
This is the thing. Now that I got it, I'm going to show it off, but it's not for that. I mean, right. I'm going to show it off while I still got it. But here's the thing, right? I love the admiration.
Yeah.
I love it. Does it get awkward at times? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to blend in with everybody else, and I'm that type of person.
You can
I do
never blend
everything.
in.
I don't want to mince my words. That interview would have been fucking unacceptable if that was Method Woman. Be clear. Putting that video up as a response to a man saying, I don't want to be lusted over on the big screen for the entire audience to lust over is crazy fucking work. And you hear them, they're like yelling, take it off. And in this scenario, we're not talking teenage girls. We're talking women older than me. And then to fucking say, if you don't want to be bothered, keep your clothes on? How fucking dare you? That's dangerous for everybody. That rhetoric is not safe for not one fucking person. It gives, what was she wearing? To be honest, he looks visibly uncomfortable. Her not catching that visible cue is alarming to me because you as the interviewer are supposed to be guiding this interview in a way that gets the people who are listening to your interview some information that they want, but also keeps the person that you're interviewing in a space where they feel comfortable enough to answer your fucking questions, and she failed to do that. And to add insult to fucking injury, this is the video the Tamron Hall show used to promote Method Man's interview. you to everything that he just said, everything that he just told you. And all of the comments are like, I lust over him all the time. That's too fucking bad. He's just gonna have to get lusted after. And I'm gonna not look at the camera for a second because I had difficulty putting this into words because I knew, and I do still know how it feels. And I don't wanna fuck up putting my thoughts into words. Everyone should have the right to determine when they do or do not want to have a lustful or sexual conversation, when they want to be taken seriously, what their boundaries are, and how they should be treated in these interactions, and how they should be treated in any interaction. Because when they don't, this happens.
Okay.
So you are obviously in a private bungalow.
Yep.
And you, because usually...
So just to give some context on that Ellen interview, Ellen is, for a significant part of the show, showing Justin Bieber like a picture of him in his first time on the Ellen show and other stuff from his youth. And she asked him how it feels to be looking back over these photos of his career. And his immediate response is something to the effect of like, it hurts seeing myself this young, but it's good to look back on. Me personally, if I was an interviewer and I was a grown woman at the time and I remembered Bieber fever, pack it up with the young photos. He's uncomfortable. But no, Ellen makes a very interesting choice here where she escalates into photos that were taken of him without his consent, where he has almost no clothes on. And what I truly need for y'all to understand more than anything else is when these things are happening, these men are at work. Even if Method Man had posted that video on his personal Instagram account, he is allowed to say, I don't want to look at that in front of a studio audience and not while I'm here talking about my interview with Men's Health. Hudson and Connor were at work filming Heated Rivalry. There was an intimacy coordinator on set to make sure that both of those men felt comfortable and safe and were willing to put on the performance that y'all enjoyed so fucking much. It was because of that comfort and safety that we got the heated rivalry that we got. But y'all are not on set. Y'all aren't on the fucking job site. And just because you are a fan, that does not make you incapable of sexual harassment. Just because you're not using the harshest language possible does not mean that you're not objectifying these men. And again, I know what women are subjected to on the daily, but I'm saying that this behavior on national television by men hosts with famous women guests would have gotten outrage. And no, maybe it wouldn't have gotten outrage from fellow men, right? Like, I can't say that we can always count on them, but other women, I know at least I would have been outraged. That would have sparked outrage in me. And I'm sure I would have gotten on the internet, depending on the decade, if it's Twitter, if it's Blue Sky, if it's Threads, whatever, and said, what kind of fucking weirdo is this guy? These famous men are not getting any of that because the women are doing the take it off and the men are doing the how can I make more money off of this, and or I don't get that type of attention. I would be happy if I got that type of attention. What the fuck could he possibly be so upset about? And so with that, I want to do an exercise in empathy. Imagine you are someone who has worked your whole life, 25 years, say 20, because you had to learn how to talk and walk and do all the other shit, right? Of acting and working your hardest, and you finally are able to present at the Golden Globes. You're finally part of a project that has your name in the rooms that you wanted your name in this whole time. And this is what's written for you.
Sorry. It's a little nerve-wracking here being at our very first Golden Globes.
Just take a deep breath and picture everyone in the audience. You know.
What?
You know.
Oh. Yeah, I don't really know if that works considering everyone's seen us. You know.
Do you think everyone in the audience has seen Heated Rivalry?
That's a maybe. But their trainers have, and their moms have, and their daughters have, and
Hi, moms.
hi, daughters.
And you see what I was talking about with the leaning into the pandemonium that you can stir up in women? And the comments, absolutely feral. Absolutely feral. And like feral to a degree where it's like, girl, we're all grown women. Like a lot of us are grown women and we follow you. So when we click comments, we see you. We see the type of shit that you're putting in there. Are you aware? And again, like, it's funny now, like that was a funny skit, but these two men are not Shane and Ilya. Jacob Elordi is not Frankenstein's monster. And at some point, you're projecting these salacious ass thoughts onto an actual person. And as a Scorpio myself, that's about as lustful and yearning as I can get. My birthday is November 9th. You still do need to ask yourself if you need to make those salacious thoughts public. And more importantly, do you even know if the person you're having these salacious thoughts about wants to be on the receiving end of them? Because to be quite frank, I don't give a fuck if you don't give a fuck what happens to men. Most days I don't either. But we do have to give a fuck about what happens to boys. And we do have to give a fuck about whether or not we're making objectifying anybody acceptable. And this has all been a ramble that I'm really uncomfortable about. I don't want to be misunderstood. I love the girls so much that I don't want to say I'm a girl's girl, because that's being misappropriated and misused more and more every day now. I love women. Women are the sun in my sky, and I'm actually working on a video about how homegirl friendships are the backbone of our community, and they're some of the most joyous things that women can do in life. And I'm just worried at a time where we're backsliding so much as a society that we're headed right back to Bieber Feverville. And if we don't catch this concerning behavior while it's happening to men, it will regress back to the boys. And I don't want it to be happening to anybody. And sometimes I wonder who's going to show up to protect the boys. You know what I mean? Well, that was a little depressing, but I feel so much better now that it's out. Please continue to support Hudson and Connor and Method Man, and listen to D'Angelo, God rest his soul. Just maybe do so with some fucking couth. If you ever get a chance to really look into what happened with Justin Bieber, you'd be horrified. But if you don't want to do that because it seems a little bit too depressing, you could always listen to Let Me Stay Focused, the podcast, of which I am half of. Our most recent episode came out on Wednesday. You can remember to like, share, and subscribe. And what's the other thing I'm supposed to say? There's a bell or something that I'm supposed to remind you guys to hit. I'm still relatively new to the YouTube thing. And you know what's most important to me? Them comments, baby. I want to discuss. Y'all see, I answer every comment I get. And I guess this would be a good opportunity to make the offer that if you are one of my girls and you're being objectified by somebody, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Hit me in the Instagram DMs. You know what I'm saying? Send me a picture of the man, the type of shit he's on. I'll put him on a Jumbotron on TikTok, just so that you girls know I'm here for you. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Over and out.